Cool. So if you could just tell me your name, please.
Joanna,
And where do you live?
Garside House,
And how long have you lived there for?
18 months.
So that would be last summer 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Why did you decide to choose Barking Riverside?
Cost. And I think this is the right moment to get in there before everything else is built, before obviously the extension is done, as it will get more expensive over time. Obviously it is quite isolated at the moment, but I am absolutely positive that this is going to change.
When you moved in, were there early signs that there might be problems with housing management?
No.
So in your first, your early experience was a positive one?
Yeah.
Over time, has that changed, that perception?
I have to say, touch wood, we haven't had many problems. We haven't had any significant problems in our blocks. We are coupled with Dalton House because we share the same car park. The biggest problem we've had is the parking gate, which obviously is not great because it's security, etc. That parking gate has been fixed probably 15 times since I moved in, and it's broken as we speak. But compared to other problems people have, we all have normal central heating, so we don't experience, again, touch wood, we don't experience the problems that other blocks have with the district heating, thank God. Our managing agent is sometimes they're more responsive, sometimes less. Our managing agent is Pinnacle. Following the fire, we have been requesting a renewed risk assessment from them, fire risk assessment. There was an initial one in October 2018, which came back as moderate. That was for a number of reasons. I think the oxygen flow was not good enough or not stopped enough. Items were left in the corridors, etc. So a lot of minor issues have been rectified. We did finally manage to get another fire risk assessment done in the second half of last year. And they did a sample of flats as well. I volunteered my flat for the sample, and I was told by the inspector, I guess, that our building is quite sound. And he even mentioned that in comparison to the previous houses, which were, I think, Breacher and Beach House were built before ours, he said that there is even a difference in walls, even though they look the same pretty much, and they were built one after the other. But they said that we have an additional layer in our walls, which should make it more fire resistant. Having said that, we haven't received the result of that fire risk assessment. So that's, it's always a bit of to and fro. Again, sometimes to a larger extent, sometimes to a lesser extent. But I don't necessarily feel like I have the right to complain massively because I know what other people have been experiencing.
So, briefly mentioned the fire. What was your experience of it?
Well, I was actually on holiday when it happened. I saw, obviously, on Facebook, and I was quite stressed. And also, obviously, it looked very, very scary. I was glad to hear that no one got hurt, which, to my mind, was at least, I remember my first thought was, well, maybe it wasn't, that's not the right way to say it. Obviously, the fact that no one got hurt and everyone managed to escape, even though I understand there were problems with escaping, suggests that there was some fire resistance, beyond the obvious wooden cladding, however you want to call it. But overall, reading other residents' messages, I think that there was a concerted effort on the part of the community to help, which was nice. But I think everyone has had questions with regards to their own blocks, and certainly when I had requested our original fire risk assessment from the managing agent, I did not expect that it would come back as moderate, because I was like, yeah, I have to request it, but I was fully expecting it to come green, because it was a block that was by that time 12 months old. So to me, seeing the result, that actually made me stressed. And obviously, I tried to kind of rationalize, the issues raised. For example, lack of sign, do not use the lift. I mean, to me, that's not necessarily, I know it's regulations, but in the grand scheme of things, I would rather have fire-resistant door than a sign next to the lift. But yeah, I mean, I can't imagine what it must be like to lose all of your possessions. Doesn't matter if it matters whether you're insured or not, but some things you can't get back, like, I don't know, memories, souvenirs, whatever. So yeah, that was a stressful time, I guess.
Has that event impacted how you feel living in this area?
It has impacted it, for sure. I think maybe, how to put it, I think more regarding the whole area than my actual block, because we have made inquiries to the developer, and again, luckily for us, we only have one flammable element, which is the balcony floors. We do have some cladding, but it's actually grade A fire resistant. So I think it's more seeing how the various companies have managed or not managed this situation. I think that's more worrying, because the emergency meeting after the fire, you've had 5 different companies, I think, represented. I understand that Samuel Garside obviously has varied types of ownership, blah blah blah, which again, for example, my block doesn't have. We are all leaseholders. It's all the same. But seeing how many parties are involved and how many parties can just kind of pass the ball to one another, it doesn't inspire confidence, put it that way.
I guess the last point is, do you feel like you, as a resident, that your voice is heard? Sorry. So you were saying how it's not necessarily clear who's ultimately responsible.
Yeah.
Do you feel that if you do have a problem as a resident, that there's someone who can take responsibility for your problems?
It's a bit hard to say.
When you haven't experienced it,
yes,
right?
Absolutely. My feeling is that if there were a serious problem, there would probably be some ping pong at least between, I can imagine, the managing agent and the developer. Obviously, even with our completely non-complicated structure of the block ownership, you have additional managing agents, you have the superior landlord, so there is plenty of opportunity to ping pong between various parties. So that would definitely be a concern, that if something really again, touch wood, if something really major happens, I'm not sure what the reaction would be, or who would react.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.